Family, there are dates in our lives that we circle on the calendar, not because they're holidays, birthdays, or anniversaries, but because something happened that shifted the entire course of who we are. These are the kinds of days that break into your life without knocking, that come uninvited but leave a permanent mark. You may not even realize their significance while you're living through them. But as time passes, you look back and see that it was the day everything tilted, the moment everything inside you began to shift. For some, it was the day they walked away from something they thought they could never live without. For others, it was the day they encountered an open door that seemed impossible, but somehow called to them with an urgency they couldn't explain. These days are often wrapped in uncertainty and fear, but also in divine possibility. They are dangerous because they come with no warning signs that say, your life is about to change. You wake up thinking it's just another ordinary morning, but by the time the sun goes down, you're standing in a place you never imagined you would be. One phone call, one conversation, one unexpected meeting, and suddenly the trajectory of your life is rerouted. It's the kind of day that makes you realize that all the plans you had carefully laid out can be overturned in a heartbeat. And sometimes it's not by accident, it's by divine appointment. God has a way of using a single day to push you out of the safety of the harbor and into the open sea, where the waters are deeper and the winds are stronger, but where the blessings are also far greater than you could have ever dreamed. These days challenge you to think, to question, and to decide who you really are and what you're really made of. They test your faith, not in the comfort of calm seasons, but in the chaos of uncertainty. And in those moments, you feel the weight of your choices more than ever before. That's why I call it dangerous. It's a day that will not leave you the same. It will either be the day you rise to the call of purpose or the day you shrink back into the shadows of comfort. And family, I'm telling you, when that day comes, there will be no hiding. The danger is not in the change itself, but in how unprepared many are to embrace it. Your 17 August may not be marked on the world's calendar, but in heaven, it is a day that has already been written, a day when God says everything changes now. And when that day arrives, you will either step forward with faith or be left standing still, watching your moment pass you by. See, the most dangerous day of your life isn't the one when trouble shows up, it's the day when change demands an answer from you. Trouble can be endured, worked through, or even ignored for a time, but when change comes knocking, it demands that you respond right then and there. It forces you to stand at a fork in the road, with one path leading toward growth and the other toward stagnation, and it refuses to let you walk away without making a choice. It's that moment when God lays before you two doors and says, choose this day whom you will serve. Choose this day the path you will walk. You can't stall, you can't delay, and you can't pretend you didn't hear him. You know in your spirit that this is it, that the moment you've been sensing in your heart for weeks, months, maybe even years has finally arrived. And here's the thing, on that day, you won't get a neon sign telling you exactly what to do. More often than not, it will feel uncomfortable, maybe even terrifying. That's because change rarely comes dressed in something you already like. It comes in the form of risk, of stretching, of letting go of something familiar to grab hold of something uncertain. It will feel like stepping out of a boat in the middle of a storm with the wind whipping against your face and the waves rising at your feet. And yet deep down, you will know that if you don't step out now, you may never get another chance. This is why it's dangerous, because the outcome of that single choice can alter the entire trajectory of your life. If you say yes to God's call, the road ahead might be difficult, but it will lead to a deeper, richer purpose than you ever thought possible. But if you say no, you won't just be saying no to change, you'll be saying no to the future that God has been preparing for you all along. And sometimes that no doesn't look like outright rejection. It looks like hesitation, like waiting for a better time, like promising yourself you'll do it later. But later often never comes, and the door that was once wide open begins to close. When your 17 August comes, it will not wait for you to feel ready. It will require you to act in faith, to trust that God has gone before you and that he will meet you on the other side of your decision. That's why you can't treat that day casually. It's not just another sunrise and sunset. It's a divine appointment on heaven's calendar, a moment that will echo through the rest of your life. And when that moment arrives, the only thing that will matter is whether you have the courage to say, Lord, I'm ready. Let's go. I remember a time in my own life when I thought I could just cruise, just keep doing what I'd always been doing, as if the routines I had built were enough to carry me into the future I wanted. I thought I was secure, that the path I was walking didn't need adjusting. But then came my 17 August, a day when God interrupted my comfort without warning. I didn't get a polite invitation or a slow buildup. It was like he stepped into the middle of my plans and said, this stops now. I'm taking you somewhere else. And in that moment, I realized something powerful. God's greatest work in your life often begins with his interruption of your comfort. We like to think growth comes in the quiet seasons, but more often it's birthed in disruption. It wasn't easy. I wrestled with fear, with doubt, with the nagging voice in my head that said, you're not ready for this. But here's what I learned. Comfort can be one of the most deceptive enemies of your calling. It whispers to you, stay here, you're safe here. Don't rock the boat. And because it feels good, you listen. Until one day you realize you've been stuck in the same place for far too long. Comfort has a way of convincing you that you're progressing when really you're just circling the same ground over and over again. It tells you that survival is enough. But God didn't call you to survive. He called you to live, to thrive, to bear fruit, to multiply. When my 17 August came, I saw how quickly God can dismantle the illusion of control. I thought I had my life mapped out, but he showed me that the very plans I was clinging to were too small for the destiny he had in mind. He had to shake me loose from what was familiar so I could step into what was greater. That day taught me that the danger of comfort isn't just that it keeps you from taking risks. It blinds you to the fact that there's more for you beyond what you can see. And sometimes the only way God can get you to move is to disrupt the peace you thought you had so you can discover the purpose you were truly made for. That's why I say your 17 August is coming, whether you're ready or not. It might not be a dramatic crisis. It could be a subtle nudge that keeps growing louder until you can't ignore it. It might be a door you never thought would open suddenly swinging wide. Or it might be the collapse of something you thought you couldn't live without. Either way, it will be the day God challenges your comfort and dares you to believe that his plan for you is far greater than the safety you've been holding on to. And if you can push past the fear and say yes, you'll find that what felt like the most dangerous day of your life was actually the doorway to the most blessed season you've ever walked in. The danger of a day like 17 August is that it forces you to confront whether you've been preparing or just pretending. It's the kind of moment that exposes what's really inside you, stripping away the excuses and the masks you've worn to convince yourself and others that you're ready. Preparation is not about sitting around with folded arms saying, when my time comes, I'll rise to the occasion. No. True preparation is about actively building yourself in the quiet seasons so that when the moment arrives, you can step into it without hesitation. If you've been asleep in your spirit, letting distractions, fear, and comfort dull your hunger for purpose, then when that day comes, it will catch you off guard. And missing it won't be because God didn't show up. It will be because you weren't ready to move when he did. I've seen it happen time and time again. People pray for a breakthrough, but when it comes, they freeze because it didn't arrive in the package they expected. They thought it would feel easy, but it shows up looking like hard work. They thought it would be instant, but it comes in the form of a process. They thought it would fit neatly into their schedule, but it requires them to rearrange their entire life. That's why preparation matters, because without it, opportunity will feel like an inconvenience instead of an answer to prayer. God doesn't just test our faith in waiting, he tests it in moving, in acting, in seizing what he's placed before us. Think of David before he faced Goliath. His 17 August came when the giant stepped onto the battlefield, but his preparation started long before, in the fields, tending sheep, fighting off lions and bears when no one was watching. If David had spent those years lounging in the shade instead of sharpening his skills, the moment he stepped into the valley, he would have been crushed. But because he was faithful in the unseen seasons, he could rise in the defining one. That's how it works for us. Our defining days are won or lost long before they ever arrive. In the private battles, the unseen obedience, the choices we make when no one is clapping for us. So when 17 August comes for you, it will not be a time to start building. It will be a time to use what you've already built. And if you've spent your waiting season complaining instead of preparing, wishing instead of working, you'll stand there empty-handed while others step forward. That's why the most dangerous thing you can do is assume you'll have time to get ready later. Later is the enemy of destiny. God is calling you to prepare now, not tomorrow, not when it's convenient, but now. So that when your moment comes, you won't just be standing there watching it happen. You'll be walking into it fully equipped, fully confident, and fully aligned with what God has been shaping you for all along. But here's the beauty. God doesn't waste days. He doesn't put a date in your life without a purpose attached to it. Your 17 August might be the day you get the phone call that changes everything, the kind of call that makes your heart race because you know it's not just news, it's an invitation into a whole new chapter. It might be the day you meet someone who opens a door you didn't even know existed, a conversation that shifts your perspective and points you toward a destiny you didn't realize was within reach. It might be the day you finally decide to let go of what's been holding you back, whether it's fear, resentment, or the weight of a past you can't change. And yes, it will be dangerous because every breakthrough comes with a battle. Every open door comes with opposition. Every new level comes with a new devil. When God assigns a moment like this, it's not just about the blessing, it's also about the stretching. He knows that in order for you to walk into what he's prepared, you'll have to step beyond the limits you've placed on yourself. That's why your 17 August will often feel overwhelming. It's designed to push you beyond the point where you can rely on your own strength. So you have no choice but to lean fully on him. Think about the children of Israel standing at the edge of the Red Sea with Pharaoh's army behind them and no way forward in sight. That was their dangerous day, and it didn't look like deliverance, it looked like disaster. But it was in that very moment that God revealed his power in a way they had never seen before. Your day might not involve a sea parting, but it will require the same faith to move when everything in your surroundings says, this doesn't make sense. And that's the point. God's appointed days rarely align with human logic. They demand obedience when clarity hasn't yet arrived, trust when the outcome is still hidden. And once you step through that door, you'll realize that the danger wasn't in the change itself, it was in the possibility of missing it because you let fear or hesitation talk you out of it. So when that moment comes, don't expect it to be easy. Expect it to be worth it. Expect it to stretch you, to challenge you, to make you question whether you've got what it takes. And then expect God to show you that you do because he put it there. Your 17 August isn't about what you lose by stepping out. It's about what you gain by finally stepping into the future. He's been holding for you all along. And when you look back, you'll see that every challenge, every closed door, every disappointment leading up to that day was not wasted. It was preparation for the moment you were brave enough to say, yes, Lord. And so the question isn't whether 17 August will come. It's whether you will stand when it does. Because on that day, the safe choice will be the wrong choice. The comfortable choice will be the choice that robs you of destiny. God doesn't call us to walk by what makes sense to our natural eyes. He calls us to walk by faith, to step into the unknown, trusting that his hand will hold us up. The Bible says without faith, it is impossible to please God. And that's because faith is the currency of movement in the kingdom. Your 17 August will be a test of whether you're willing to trade comfort for calling, fear for faith, and security for surrender. The truth is, most people don't miss their moment because they didn't have a chance. They miss it because they didn't take it. Opportunities don't often come in the package we imagine. Sometimes they're wrapped in inconvenience, discomfort, or even pain. You might be waiting for the perfect set of circumstances, but God rarely waits for perfect conditions to move. Think of Peter on the boat in the middle of a storm. Jesus called him to walk on water, not when the sea was calm, but when the waves were raging. Why? Because faith isn't proven in the absence of the storm, it's proven in your willingness to step out in the middle of it. When your 17 August arrives, there will be voices, internal and external, that will try to talk you out of it. They'll say it's too risky. You're not ready, you might fail, but what they won't tell you is that the real failure is staying where you are when God has called you to move. Staying safe may keep you from falling, but it will also keep you from flying. And God didn't create you just to survive in a comfort zone. He created you to soar in a calling zone. Standing on that day will require courage. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision to move forward in spite of it. It's believing that God has already gone before you, prepared the way, and equipped you with everything you need for the journey ahead. It's trusting that if He called you to it, He will sustain you through it. That's why preparation and faith must